nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya akarma krita karyate yavasha karma sarva prakriti jai gunai. It said that there was no time, or there is no time in our day where we do not do any work. We are engaged in a work, some work or the other. So there is no time during our day when we don't work. And then it says why it is so, why we are always in a state of action. It says karyate hyavasha karma samagra prakriti jai kunai. The actions that we see happening through us, these actions are actually produced by the nature and the qualities. They are not produced by me. It's like the agenda where I get involved in my entire day, and then in my entire life, is been prepared by the nature. It's not prepared by me. And the nature is running this agenda through me. But I think that I am doing this agenda. I am not doing anything. I am the observer. I'm the observer. I am the consciousness, upon which this whole agenda is run. But while this is going on, this program is going on, I somehow become the administrator of this program, and I also think myself to be the programmer. But the real case is that I am neither the administrator nor the programmer. I am only the observer. I'm only the observer, and this is how I should be. If I really want to have a life where I will have peace, I will have bliss, I will have freedom. And going back into that reality where I am not the doer, but I am the observer of everything which is being done. This going back into that point, that is called karma yoga. So while we are performing karma, we should always be aware about this person who is doing the karma. If I am aware about the person who is actually the doer, I will say, I'm not the doer, but I am the one who is behind everything, who is not running the show, who is providing all the stuff so that the show can be run. I am not the one who is running the show, So any yoga that we talk about, it is only meant to bring us back into what we really are. And when we come back to the point what we really are, that is, when we come back to our real nature, that is, when we start to live a real life. And, this life which we live while we are the observer of the phenomena. When we become the observer of the phenomena and all the actions that are produced through us, that life becomes a real blissful life, okay, and a real complete life. So that is what we are all trying to do when we are talking about karma yoga. We are trying to go back to the reality. This reality that we think, this reality that we see is not reality. This is the apparent reality. This is an apparent reality which has been shown to me, but that is not true. That is not true. It's an apparent reality. But there is a reality which is the truth, which does not mutate, which does not change. This reality that I see here, it changes, it mutates. It's a passing phenomena. Now there is something, and the next moment there is something else. So it's a passing phenomena. But the reality that we are talking about, when we go and get established into that reality, then we see that, I am the substratum of this passing phenomena. I am not one of this. I am not a member of this entire this phenomena. I'm the observer. I'm the consciousness behind. I'm the substratum. And being myself is completion, is attaining completion. Being myself is attaining fulfillment. And when you be yourself, when you return to yourself, when you return to your real nature, then you understand what completeness means, what fulfillment means, what is called enlightenment. It cannot be it cannot be it can be described in words. It cannot be described in words. It can only be felt. So when we when we apply karma yoga in our life, then we see that through this karma yoga we have attained the state beyond karma. That is, through this karma yoga we have attained a state which takes me beyond actions. Okay, so now we are going to the next one. Karmendriyani sanyamya ya aste manasa smaran. Now when we are talking about karma yoga, now from now on, till now Krishna was talking about unattachment with the results of the action. When he gave this inception of karma yoga in the second chapter, he did not bring any other thing. He said karma yoga is all about unattachment from the results of your karma. That's all. You should keep on working. You should keep on working. You should keep on performing your karma, but you should be aware that you don't get attached to the results. You don't hanker for the results. And you don't work for the results. You work only for the sake of working. So that is what he had said while he was speaking about while he was introducing karma yoga in the second chapter. Now is going a step ahead. Now he is talking about unattached action. Actions which are unattached. Actions which are unattached means actions which are unattached from not only the results of the action. Till now we are familiar with this, that we need to be unattached from the results. Now it says that it's not only about the results, it's also about the doer. You are the doer. And you think that you are the doer, but you are not the doer. Don't impose yourself to be the doer. You are not the doer at all. In no time ever in eternity, you will be the doer, because you don't need to do any work. You are always fulfilled. You don't have any necessity at all. You don't have any necessity. You are always the self, fulfilled. You are the infinite. And because you are the infinite, that is why you don't work. And because you don't work, don't impose yourself to being a doer. Okay? So the second one is not to get attached to the doer of the action. Because you are not the doer at all. This is wrong. This is false. And the third is, the action itself. The action itself. The action, the action is, I am not attached to the actions also. I'm not attached to the results of the action. I'm not attached to the results of the action. I'm not attached to the doer of the action, and I am not attached to the action also. So this is the real, real theme of karma yoga. We have to come to this point when I am not attached to the action, I'm not attached to the doer, and I'm not attached to the results of the action. Now Krishna is, he is teaching us how to be unattached. How to be unattached? There are two kinds of unattachment. One is physical unattachment. One is physical unattachment and one is spiritual unattachment. Physical unattachment happens from the body, from the senses. And mental unattachment or spiritual unattachment happens at the mental level, from the mind. So, I want to be unattached. I want to be unattached from this world. So I am seeing something here which I am attached to, and I want to unattach from there. How? I just close my eyes. Because I've closed my eyes, I am disconnected with this, this thing with which I was attached. And because I'm disconnected with this thing physically, I think that I have attained the state of unattachment. But while I am unattached from it in the physical level, by closing my eyes, my mind is attached to that in the subtle level, in the mental level. So though I am practicing unattachment in the physical level, I am attached to it in a much more higher, in the higher, plane of consciousness, in the mental level, in a very high intensity. And this attachment is the real attachment. This attachment with the body is not the attachment at all. The real attachment happens from the mind. So Krishna says that when you talk about unattachment, you need to be unattached from the mind, not the body. Because the unattachment from physical, physical unattachment is not unattachment at all. The unattachment really is the mental unattachment. So he says, Nahi karmandriyani sanyamya ya aste manasa smaran. We have 5, senses of action. Like we have 5 senses of perception. There is eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. These are the 5 senses of perception. So at the same way, we have 5 senses of action. Karmendriyani. It says karma. There are two type of senses. One is Gyanendriya, by which we perceive this world. We perceive this world from our, through our eyes, or through our ears, or through our nose, or through our tongue, or through our skin. So because we perceive this world through our senses, these senses, that is why it's called the sense of perception, or the sense of knowledge. And then there are 5 more senses by which we work, we perform our action. They are not needed, or they are not used to perceive this world. They are used to execute. What is that? Vak. Vak means the speech. The speech. We need to speak. So there is the speech. Hands. Through hands we work. Legs. Through our legs. Stomach. Why stomach? Because through stomach we live. If we don't have stomach, then our body will not have the proper energy to function. So stomach is also one sense of action. And anus, from where we excrete, that is also a sense of action. So we have these 5 sense of action. One is our voice, our speech, hands, legs, stomach, and anus. So these are the 5 senses of action. So he says that if I control these 5 senses of action, karmendriyani sanyamya, I am controlling these 5 senses of action. When I am controlling these 5 senses of action, I am not doing any action. This is true. Okay, I am not doing any action. But ya aste manasa smaran. But I am attached in my mind. I am attached through the mind. Though I have unattached though I have unattached this world from the sense of, from the sense of actions or in the physical level, but I'm attached with, through the mind. I'm thinking of those where I am practicing unattachment in the physical level. So what happens? Indriyarthan vimuratma. These people, they only seek this pleasure from the objects of nature, of senses. They only seek, they are seeking pleasure from the objects of senses, and they are only extracting the pleasure in the mental level, and thus they are all all stupid. So here stupid means not stupid. Here stupid means crooked. They are hypocritic. They are not stupid. They're hypocritic. They're crooked. They're doing their own, own destruction. They're bringing their own destruction. They're harming themselves. Indriyarthan vimuratma mithyachara sa uchate. That is a great lie. So this kind of attachment should not be practiced. If you are attached to something in the physical, physical plane, and and from the mental plane, you are unattached. That is considered to be the real unattachment. So unattachment should always be from the mental level, not from the physical level. So any kind of spiritual activity should not, associate physical actions. They should rather be mental actions. The effort should be from the mind, to dissolve the mind into the self. Not how long I'm sitting, how long I'm breathing, or how long I'm meditating. Not this. How deep I am going while I'm meditating. How deeper into this, into this consciousness how deeper I can penetrate. That is the real thing. So everything should be from the mental level, not from the physical level. Okay. So karmendriyani sangamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimuratma mithyachara sa uchate. Now he says, but he, okay, yastwindriyani manasa niyamya arabhate arjuna. But he yastu indriyani, he who can restrain the senses, from the mind. Okay, O Arjuna, who can restrain his senses, who can control the senses from the mind, means his mind also is restrained. His mind also is under control. When the mind is controlling the senses not to get attached to the external objects, that means the mind also is in the state of restraint. And if a person can do this, yastu karmendriyani manasa niyamya arahate arjuna karmendriyai karma yogam asakta savishishyate. Karmendriyai karma yogam asakta. That is how he will perform karma yoga. That is how he will perform karma yoga, by being unattached in the sense of by being unattached, by making the sense of actions unattached also. This is how he can perform the perfect way of karma yoga. If a man can restrain his senses, through his mind, this is the real way of performing karma yoga. Because by this he can also restrain his sense of actions, and thus he can excel. Okay, yastu indriyani manasa niyamya aravate arjuna karma yogai karmendriyai karma yogam asakta savishishyate. If a person can restrain his mind, his senses through his mind, this is the person who can also engage his sense of actions unattached while performing any action, and that is what it is called karma yoga. Like, if your mind is restrained, then the mind can restrain your senses, and when you perform any action through your restrained senses, that action is considered to be your karma yoga in a very simple terms. Now, how to restrain the mind? To restrain the mind, you need to concentrate on the self. You need to not get attached to the doer of the action, because when you are getting attached to the doer of the action and you're becoming the doer of the action, that is when the mind gets attached to everything in this world. The mind gets attached to the action, and because this action is connected to this world, the mind gets attached to everything in this world, and you are completely scattered. But if your mind is not attached to the doer of the action, if it is always aware that I am the self, if it is always aware that I am the self, I am not the doer, because I don't need to do any work. I don't need to do any work because I am already fulfilled, because I am not this body, not the mind, not the intellect or the ego. I am the self. I am the consciousness. So I don't need to work at all. And because I don't need to work at all, I am not the doer. And while he is performing action in that way, that he is not the doer, that is when he can restrain the senses also, to not get attached to the objects while performing actions. Like, you are performing every bit of action, every action. The best part of karma yoga is it doesn't tell you that you can do this kind of action and you have to stop this kind of action. You cannot do this kind of. This is how we think we should be given, like, guidelines, that you should do this and you should not do this. But karma yoga does not say this. Karma yoga does not give you do's and don'ts. Karma yoga tells you how to perform karma. How to perform karma which will be beneficial to your life. And how to perform karma which will be beneficial to your life is when you perform karma through karma yoga. Now, what is karma yoga? Karma yoga means when I am completely separate from, I am completely unattached from the doer of the action. Then I attain a restrained mind. Then I attain a very calm and serene mind. And when I have this very calm and serene mind, a restrained mind, that is when I can restrain the senses. Now, these restrained senses are engaged into action. And that action is called karma yoga. And when a person applies this karma yoga in his life, he excels. Karmendriyai karma yogam asakta savishishyate. If you can apply this way of karma yoga in your life by restraining your senses while performing an action, this is how you're going to attain excellence. Now, Did you understand this? If you have any question, you can ask, because this is a very important aspect of our life, and everybody should start practicing it. You know, and you know, you will see that it's got a enormous results. Now, please tell me if you have understood the concept of this karma yoga.
Can
Start.
I ask, so when you say restraining your senses, are you saying that you choose your thoughts, so you're more, rather than let them just go wherever, that you can sort of choose where your thoughts are going?
Yeah, you don't.
Right?
Yeah, yes, you have to choose your thoughts where they are going.
Yeah.
Don't let your thoughts just go wherever it likes. If it goes wherever it likes, you know, you will not be in peace.
No.
You will in a very in a very very disastrous state of mind.
Yeah.
So you need to restrain your mind. But here it says that the only way to restrain your mind is to replace, you know, yourself as being the self,
Yeah.
not being the, you know, not being Emily,
Okay.
not being the thoughts that Emily thinks, you know, and not being the body of Emily. Your perception about yourself should be very clear, and that is, you are the self. This is the perception that you should have forever in your entire life. You know, that is when you will have, you can restrain your mind. You will see your mind will work according, you know, your mind will work, but it will work according to your benefit. It will not take you to certain place which will not be good for you. Most of the time our mind takes us into certain space which gives us sufferings. Not most of the time, all the time our mind, we are bound to, you know, just follow the mind. We think that there's something which I'm going to get. But, you know, after some time we realize that we have come to a point where we have just, you know, bounded ourselves in a situation which is very harmful for me. And the most, you know, difficult part is that we don't have that, you know, that strength to come out of that situation. Okay, and then we cry for help. If we are lucky, we can have help. If you're not lucky, then we just have to sink into that situation. And this is how it is. But here it says that you don't need to think about your mind. You don't have to restrain your mind. You have to just replace yourself, your perception about yourself. What is you? Who are you? You are not a name. You are not a form. You are not the mind. You are not the intellect or the ego, which says I. You're not them. You are beyond this. You're the self. Okay? So when you replace this, then you see that everything is fine. This is the only missing link of our life, you know. Everybody is missing something. What is that? What is that which people miss? This one. They cannot, they don't, you know, they don't have the value of themselves. They don't have the real value of themselves. And because they don't have this, that is why they are always in the state of missing. You know, everybody is thinking that they're missing something, Okay. Anybody else who has any question?
You're saying about being the doer and then not being the doer. I got confused.
What?
You're saying being about the doer,
Yes.
not being the, and then saying
Yeah,
about
not being the
false.
doer. Not being the doer. Who does? Who does? A person who has necessity, he does. Okay. When will you do? When will you need to do? You will only need to do when you need something, when you have necessity. That is when you do. Now you are not, you don't need, you know, you are fulfilled always. You don't need to do anything. But it doesn't mean that you will not do anything. You will do things knowing that you are not the doer. Okay? Because a doer has necessities, has wants, has desires, has shortcomings, has crises. But you are the self. You are consciousness. You are infinite. You don't have crisis. You don't have shortfall. You don't have, any need, any necessity. You are always fulfilled. So when you replace this perception that I am not the doer because I am always fulfilled, and then you engage yourself in any action, then you see the action becomes much more pleasurable to you. The action becomes much more, blissful, much more, meaningful for you. And it attracts you towards the self. These actions itself, any action that you do, this action itself attracts you towards the self.
Can I say something, Swamiji?
Yeah.
So Leslie, when we do the dharana on Wednesday nights, and we put a lot of focus on that space that is beyond the mind, and you go into that witness consciousness where you start to know that you aren't meditating. Who is meditating? Do you know what I mean when you go into that place of observing the meditation? So what Swamiji is saying, that taking that into action of understanding that I'm the self, the person behind who's observing, instead of it's Leslie here who's performing all of this, then you're moving into karma yoga. Would that be right, Swamiji?
Yeah. So, thank you, Shadi. So,